Mangwanani Mwalelepo Vukenjani Kwaswanawe Africa. Welcome to Africa Good Morning, the news and current affairs show bringing you everything you need to know happening on the African continent and beyond. You are joined by Ashwin Berry and Aina Raiza Kweyo. How are you, Aina?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm fantastic. I'm good.
In today's broadcast, mystery Chinese spacecraft returns to Earth after 276 days. And in Mali, record-breaking nonuplets celebrate their second birthday. Explosive discovered in Uganda ahead of protests. We also take a trip to Zambia to speak to Master Mike Sichula, as well as we bring you a sports package by Master Arihoha. We'll be right back with the top stories.
Welcome to My.NA Cars, your ultimate destination for everything automotive.
I am your host, Diana Master.
Teamwork makes the dream work, right?
Discover the latest models, innovative technologies, and expert insights from our passionate hosts. Learn essential maintenance tips and get exclusive behind-the-scenes access to the automotive industry. Don't miss My.NA Cars on NTV every Thursday at 2100 hours. Tune in and ignite your passion for automobiles.
In our top stories this morning, mystery Chinese spacecraft returns to Earth after 276 days. An experimental Chinese spacecraft returned to Earth on Monday after staying in orbit for 276 days. China's state media reported completing a landmark mission to test the country's reusable space technologies. Now, the uncrewed spacecraft returned to Jiuquan Launch Center in northwest China on Monday as scheduled, according to state media. No details were given on what the spacecraft was, what technologies were tested, how high it flew, and where its orbit had taken it since its launch in early August 2022. Images of the craft have also yet to be released to the public. The test marks an important breakthrough in China's research to reusable spacecraft technology that will provide a more convenient and inexpensive way to mount future space missions, state media reported.
Now we'll swing over to Mali as record-breaking nonuplets celebrate their second birthday, namely Fatuma, Kadidia, Hawa, Adama, Omo, Ba, Mohammed, Omar, and El Haji. These are the nonuplets that 2 years ago broke the Guinness record of the most living birds at once, celebrating this on Saturday, their birthday for the first time at home in Mali. Relatives, friends, and even the pediatrician of the nonuplets attended the celebration. The children chose Miraculous as the theme for their second birthday. It's their favorite, said their mother, Hauma Sise. I thank God for allowing me to celebrate my children's 2-year births at home in Mali, said 27-year-old Sise. Sise was expecting 7 babies, and due to the complexity and special care needed for that exceptional multiple pregnancy, the doctors in Mali, under government orders, decided to transfer her to a clinic in Casablanca, Morocco, where on May 5th, 2021, the young mother gave birth to 9 instead of 7 kids, 5 girls and 4 boys.
In our next story, explosive discovered in Uganda ahead of protest. Uganda's security forces say they have discovered explosives intended for use during planned anti-government protests in the capital, Kampala. An activist group, Uganda Freedom Activists, has called for nationwide protests on Monday against corruption and economic hardships in the country. Defense spokesperson Brigadier Felix Kalyange, in a tweet, said the explosives were found in Nabweru on the road to Kazo in central Wakizo district. These were used today in a city by those planning to paint it red, he said. Now, police warned the activists against organizing the protests, terming them lawful. The activists have, however, vowed to go on with protests, describing Brigadier Kalyange as a liar.
Now, the death toll from floods and landslides triggered by heavy rain in the east of the Democratic Republic of Congo has risen to nearly 400, an official said on Sunday. At least 394 bodies have been recovered after last week's floods, said Thomas Bakenga, administrator of Kalehe territory, where the affected villages are located. He had announced a toll of at least 203 people on Saturday. Heavy rainfall in the Kalehe region of South Kivu province on Thursday caused rivers to overflow flow, triggering landslides that engulfed the villages of Bushushu and Nyamukubi. In all, several villages were submerged, many houses washed away, and fields devastated when rivers in the region burst their banks due to the heavy rains. Out of 11 people in the family, only 2 remain. Roger Bahavu, a father of 7, told AFP.
In our next story, inmate dies at Mangaung Correctional Center. The Department of Correctional Services has confirmed that a prisoner died at Mangaung Correctional Center, the same facility where notorious Facebook rapist Thabo Bester escaped. The MCC, with security company G4S run, has come under scrutiny after Thabo Bester's escape. The convicted rapist and murderer escaped from the facility in Bloemfontein in May 2022 after it was initially believed that he had died by suicide after setting himself alight in a cell. Following his escape, officials found the body of 31-year-old Katleho Bareng in Bester's prison cell at the MCC, where he was serving a life sentence. DC spokesperson Sibako Kumalo confirmed that an inmate had died, but the death is not related to Thabo Bester's escape. Last week, G4S said it intends to discontinue all investment in correctional services in South Africa. The decision comes after the DC ended its contract with Bloemfontein Correctional Center, which runs the MCC.
All right, that brings us to the end of our top stories on Africa. Good morning. Now in Zambia, a man has demanded his dowry be paid back after discovering that the family into which he was married into accepted dowry from another man. Mike Sichula will be bringing us that and other stories stemming from the real Africa.
To another exciting episode of Irongo Talk. Jullie is weer en vertel ook vir julle waar die vis julle moontlik kan byt.
Now, the Chinese government has offered to partner with Zambia to develop the electric car batteries sector, which is certainly quite the innovation and a big undertaking. Here to talk to us about it is Mike Sichula in Zambia. Good morning, Mike. Take it away.
Africa, good morning. Thank you very much. Yes, indeed, the Chinese ambassador to Zambia says his government is ready to share the expertise with Zambia in the manufacturing of electric car batteries. Mr. Du says China is currently the biggest market for electric vehicles, with 20 million units being offloaded on the Chinese market every year. So Zambia so far has close to 35 electric cars that people have imported, and the Zambian government has also moved to ensure that to take advantage of the minerals such as cobalt and nickel, which are very much needed in the manufacturing of electric car batteries. Then also the Zambian government and the Democratic Republic of Congo have already signed a memorandum of understanding to establish a factory for the manufacturing of these batteries. So the coming in of the Chinese to partnership with Zambia is one of those huge steps that seek to ensure that this dream becomes a reality. And considering that Zambia, the new administration, wants to have cordial working relationship with China, where Zambia owes billions of dollars, it's something that the government of Zambia will certainly take on board.
All right, Master Sichula, in some interesting news in Zambia, please tell us about the man who's demanding his dowry back.
Well, Thompson Munkombwe, age 33, of one of the densely populated compounds in Lusaka, Kanyama compound, says his wife's family must give him back the 200 kwacha he paid as dowry. So 200 kwacha, roughly about 11 United States dollars. So Mr. Munkombwe explains that his wife, Memory Tembo, bent him after a marital dispute and he had left the matrimonial home to be nursed by his family for some time. This took for some time. So upon his return, he was however shocked to find that his wife was married off by the family. So Mr. Mugombwe says he only discovered this upon his return to their matrimonial home. So from the same house that he left, when he went back after he was healed from the burnt, because he was allegedly burnt by the wife after a dispute, he discovered that there was a man living in his house, and their wife was pregnant. So he's saying, let the family uh, pay me back my dowry, which is about 11 to $10, so that I can start my whole new life. So when he had gone with the television crew to the house was unfortunately found deserted. Everything in the house, all the households were mopped up, and the wife left, and she did confirm that yes, she was married to somebody else, but she also gave her own story of saying we had actually divorced, but there was no divorce, there was no certificate of divorce. So this case has been taken up by a local NGO, and it is probably going to court. And memory, the lady in question will probably be taken to task by the court, because what she has committed is a crime.
All right, very interesting. Yes, it is a crime, but to pay $11 for dowry is a crime too, in my opinion. We'll talk about that later. All right, now we move over to a rather sad note. Authorities have buried 29 foreign nationals who were dumped dead in Lusaka in December last year. Could you please get into that?
We did report here on Africa Good Morning, and we did show our viewers the pictures that we got. So the bodies of the illegal immigrants were discovered lifeless in Nkosi area, in one of the new suburbs in Lusaka. The mass burial was conducted at the Lusaka's Leopard Hill Cemetery after postmortem at the University Teaching Hospital's mortuary. So the two governments, Zambia and Ethiopia, corroborated to ensure that these Ethiopian nationals could be buried. According to one of the officials who attended the burial from Ethiopia, they did indicate that they have failed to trace some of the families of the 29 foreign nationals. So it was just a matter of saying, let's bury them and see if anything comes up, then they could probably be resumed for reburial in their countries of origin. So the issues of trafficking is one of those that has still persisted in Zambia. Just last week, about 11 illegal immigrants of Ethiopian nationality were apprehended in central Zambia after they were discovered hiding at a private house. So this is something that Zambia and many other African regions are failing to comprehend, to bring to an end, because just people from Ethiopia trekking through Zambia into South Africa, where they are reported to be getting good paying jobs.
All right, Master Sichula, finally, President Hakainde Hichilema has called for increased investment and cooperation between Zambia and South Korea. Tell us about this.
Yes, the president met the South Korean delegation when he went to Britain, the United Kingdom, for the coronation of King Charles. So on the sidelines of that meeting, the president met this delegation, and he said there was need for the two countries to deepen bilateral cooperation for the benefits of two peoples. He expects the growth of trade and investment between Zambia and South Korea is key in contributing to the growing of the economies of the two countries. So also the South Korean Prime Minister praised President Hichilema for the role Zambia is playing to enhancing democracy on the African continent. So it is one of those trips that President Hakainde Hichilema takes advantage of whenever he's out of the country, to ensure that he attracts more foreign investors into Zambia. He has called himself the chief marketing officer for Zambia, and whenever he's out of the country, he seeks by all means to ensure that there's more foreign direct investment coming into the country as he seeks to rebuild the Zambian economy.
All right, we certainly wish him all the best with that. Thank you very much, Mike, for bringing us the news stories from Zambia.
Thank you very much, Africa. Good morning.
Africa, good morning indeed. Let's have a look at the weather predictions just before we head into economic news. Now, before we get into the broader economic news, we start off with something that has been very significant economically in Namibia, which is Heineken's takeover of Namibia Breweries Limited. Now, Dolf van den Brink, the CEO of Heineken, talks about the investment in Namibia Breweries and what can be expected going forward.
Dolf, thank you very much for making time. Really, it's a pleasure for us to speak to you, and I hope you're enjoying Namibia. It's a big development that has taken place here. Everybody's wondering, a typical question that any Namibian would ask today is the rationale behind acquiring the majority stake in Namibia Breweries.
Very good. Thanks for having me, and it's fantastic to be here and to feel the vibe and the energy of the team.
Yes.
Maybe it's good to start at the beginning.
Sure.
Heineken has been a major investor all over Africa for tens and tens of years.
Yeah.
We have operations in over 20 countries. And actually we have been a major investor in Namibian breweries for over 20 years.
Okay.
When we became the second largest investor and shareholder. So it's not new. We know the company intimately well, and we have been part of the extended family, if you like, for a long time.
Yes.
But it was always our dream to further our investment in Southern Africa and in Namibia precisely. And therefore we are very happy and proud to know being able to take over the share of ONL to become the majority shareholder. But it's also really important that we are maintaining the public listing on the Namibian Stock Exchange.
Yeah.
Still 40% of the company will be owned by the Namibian people, by the Namibian investors, the pension funds and what have you.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, as you know, having been involved for that long, you obviously know that it's a proud Namibian company. It's a lot of people see it as some sort of national asset. What are the sort of long-term plans for this investment?
Yeah. First of all, we are equally super proud of the company, its legacy, the history, beautiful brands, Windhoek Lager, Windhoek Draft, Tafel, and we don't change them. Like the Heineken recipe has not changed in 158 years. For sure, we're not going to change the recipe on Windhoek Lager. It's brewed with the Reinheitsgebot, which we're going to respect. And actually, the brewery has a couple of amazing brewmasters who are going to stay with us for the future. So in that sense, the Namibian people can continue to be super proud of the company and the brands. And actually, the company now being part of the larger Heineken company, actually we see a lot of opportunity for export and selling the Windhoek brand in other parts of the world.
Yeah, wonderful. When there's a major development like this, people will always wonder, your beautiful staff, people wondering whether their jobs will be secure or whether there will be, changes in those kind of conditions. What kind of assurances can you give to the nation in that regard?
Yeah, no, so actually as part of our conversations with the competition authority, we actually have made a commitment that there won't be retrenchments, no reductions in number of employees below the management level. Actually, we're merging, and that's another aspect, that we are merging Namibian breweries together with the operations of Distel in Namibia. Okay. So there's 125 colleagues of Distel joining into the Namibian Brewery organization. Mm-hmm. So the organization will end up larger rather than smaller.
Yeah. And I mean, the investment seems to be really huge, one of the biggest ever in the history of our country. What can you tell us about that investment, what it means in the greater scheme of things?
Yeah, no, it's a very big vote of confidence in the potential of Namibia, the future of Namibia, the Namibian people. Having been part of Namibian Brewery as a minority shareholder, we really have high confidence in the future of this country. And that's why we felt confident to make this investment. It's part of a larger investment that we are making across Southern Africa, and we are also gaining control of Distel in South Africa. We're merging these companies together. And as Heineken, we always take a long perspective. Heineken is still a family-controlled company that has been around for many, many years. And we really want to build a business for the future. And Namibia will be an important part of that.
Yeah.
All right, as we look forward to Manchester City playing Real Madrid in the semi-final of the UEFA Champions League, here's Adi Hohart with the rest of the sport.
Good day everyone, time for international sports news, and starting off with tennis news. The new world rankings out in the tennis world. It was the Madrid Open that completed over the weekend, and it was a good result for Jan-Lennard Struff. He's of Germany. He was actually a lucky loser in the qualifying to get into the tournament, and he went through all the way to the final, where he lost in the final against Carlos Alcaraz of Spain. Great performance by Jan-Lennard Struff. He is 33 years old, and he also make a big jump on the world rankings. He's up 37 places. He was number 65 in the world before the start of the tournament. He's now 28th in the world, so a great result for Jan-Lennard Struff, and he will obviously be one of the contenders also for the French Open starting in a month or so time. Currently, the world number one is Novak Djokovic. He's still the world number one, but only just a small difference between him and Carlos Alcaraz now. In fact, Carlos Alcaraz just need to start in the next tournament to overtake him as the world number one. It's Daniil Medvedev that remain in the third position on the world rankings. On to the women's rankings, and it was Aryna Sabalenka that won the Madrid Open, but she stays number 2 in the world. It is still Iga Swiatek of Poland that is the world number 1. She played against Aryna Sabalenka in the final of the Madrid Open, lost in 3 sets, but she's still the world number 1. Ons Jabeur of Tunisia, she's the top seeded player in an African context, and she unfortunately dropped a few places, didn't have a few good tournaments on clay. She's down 3 places from number 4 in the world to number 7 in the world. Moving on to cycling news, it is one of the big cycling events on the cycling calendar for men. It is the Giro d'Italia that started, and it was stage 2, won by Jonathan Milan of Italy. He won it in a tight sprint finish just before David Decker, that was in second place, and Caden Groves in third position. It was Jonathan Milan, he's just 22 years old, that won in 4 hours, 55 minutes and 11 seconds. One of the early favourites, especially on the sprinting side, one of the best sprinters from England is Mark Cavendish, but he was part of a crash just 3 kilometres before the end, so he didn't finish that race. In the general classification, it is still Remco Evenepoel that leads. He won the first stage time trial quite convincingly, and he leads by 22 seconds. That's over Filippo Ganna of Italy. The third stage will be over 200.
Let's get into the highlights from this morning's broadcast. Mystery Chinese spacecraft returns to Earth after 276 days. Mali record-breaking nonuplets celebrate their second birthday. Nigerian presidents to commission Dangote refinery in 2 weeks. Those have been our stories.
Thank you very much for watching our show this morning. Please be reminded that Africa Good Morning screens on DSTV channel 285 as well as GoTV channel 25. We also welcome your remarks regarding our show. You can post them on our Twitter and Facebook pages. On that note, it's all our love, all our light, and we wish you well for today.
Sela Jaganaka.